Know what to eat, but find yourself not eating it. Perhaps you've been on diets and off again and just wonder why you can't stick to them. The Eating For You podcast, hosted by me, Sally Ann Pisk, will show you what's been missing so you can enjoy a healthier way of eating that lasts. Hi, Sally Ann with you, and I'm wondering how you're feeling. We're kind of midway through December. How are you feeling? Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling relaxed? Are you feeling stressed? And how's your tummy feeling? Because this time of the year, it can be especially difficult to say no to food even when you're not hungry. And that's what this episode is going to be all about, sort of diving into the things that happen during the festive season that can make us overeat when we're not hungry. Food is really not the problem, it's the pressure to eat. Every function we go to, there's food, whether it's a casual family catch-up or a catch-up with friends after work or a work barbecue. Food is the common theme. And as I said, that's not really the problem. It's the pressure or even the obligation that we may feel that we have to eat even when we're not hungry. And I just want to say that this cultural or social obligation to eat is really common. But I just want to take a step back. If you're not accustomed to eating mindfully, then like all of my clients, when they start working with me, realize that they've never actually considered whether they're hungry or not when they make a decision to eat. And I know as I say it, and you're probably listening to it, it seems such a strange thing to do. Why is it that we're not taught to eat when we're hungry and to stop when we're feeling satisfied? Well, I've really jumped into that in my other episodes of the Eating For You podcast, but I am going to touch on a few of those drivers for eating today. But one of the biggest things my clients often tell me is that they don't want to hurt people. They don't want to seem rude or ungrateful for the food that's been provided to them, whether it is at this time of the year at festive functions or other times of the year as well. They feel that it can be easier just to say yes than to say no. I'm not feeling like food at the moment, I'm not hungry. And what can happen when we actually say, no, I'm not hungry? People will say, oh, you're not on another diet, are you? Or at this time of the year when it's full of festivities, it's not the time to diet. It's not the time to worry about what you're eating. Let your hair down and just enjoy the occasion. But that's not so easy for someone who's been on and off diets their entire life and knows how hard it is to get back on track when you've let yourself splurge. That's not my words. These are the words that I often hear from my clients. But what can happen when we start saying no to food? Even if you've stepped away from dieting, that whole dieting mentality, that dieting software, as I often call it, is still or possibly still running in the background. So it's like, no, I can't eat that, rather than, do I really want to eat it because I'm hungry? And the other thing that can happen is that whole fear of missing out, because when you've been on and off diets your entire life, as many of my clients have been, it's like, I really don't want to miss out. And it's navigating, how can I experience this food without overeating or feeling like I've let myself down and not nourished my body in the way that I really want to. And one of the biggest breakthroughs when we learn to tune into hunger is my clients say, I don't feel uncomfortably full anymore. So it's being able to eat enough without feeling hungry, but without feeling full as well. And it does take practice and it can take some support to get there. But really, listening to your own body is the best thing I can encourage you to do. So rather than having this all or nothing approach to food where you taste some of the canapés or you eat some of the sweet food and feel like you've ruined everything and, well, you may as well give up because you have failed. Mindful eating is something very different. I always talk to my clients about degrees of mindfulness. And of course, one of the first things we always tune into is that level of hunger. But that can be tricky during the festive season, especially if the functions you're going to offer canapés or small snacks. So you're not actually sitting down to a meal. You can't visualize how much food's on your plate and whether that's like what you would normally have. And I know myself, I find it hard to gauge how hungry I am, because if I arrive at an event like this and I'm hungry, a couple of canapés don't actually fill me up, but then the hunger kind of passes and then you sort of think, well, I haven't had enough to eat. What do I do? The best thing you can do is just keep checking in. Am I still hungry? And what can I eat? Of course, the other thing that I've learnt to do when I know that it's just going to be canapés on offer, I tend to have my meal before I go, because for me, the social occasion is not just about the food, it's about being with friends, being with loved ones, and enjoying time together. So if you'd like to be able to say no to food in a way that doesn't insult your host, that you feel comfortable with, then I really recommend that you have a plan. Have a few things that you can say in a very calm and confident way. Say, no thanks, I'm not actually hungry at the moment. A really calm and confident way of saying no to food is not going into an explanation. It's just simply saying, thanks for the offer, I'm really fine at the moment, I'll give it a skip this time. Or something, if you want to give your host praise, you know they've put a lot of effort into preparing the food, say something like, the food really looks delicious, I'm not hungry at the moment, but I'll certainly have some later if I feel like it. So you can talk about now, you can talk about perhaps coming back later to have something when you're hungry, and you can really enjoy it, because if we do eat mindfully and we do happen to overeat, we realize that that pleasant experience of eating was well past when we went past feeling satisfied and not full or overly full. The other physical thing we can do at a function when we've had enough to eat or we've had enough to drink and we don't actually have to get into a conversation about, no, I'm not hungry, is just holding a plate with some food on it or a drink that is full. And that way your host will feel like, oh, Sally Ann's been well looked after, she doesn't need any more food or she doesn't need any more drink. And as I said, you don't have to feel awkward about saying no to food, because your host can see that you are content with what you have either in your glass or on your plate. What this really is all about, though, is building a confident relationship with food and with yourself, being able to tune into what really nourishes your body, whether it's the festive time of the year, any time of the year. It's not about food rules. Sure, I'm a dietitian with over 30 years experience. I'm very passionate about food and nutritious food. But I know that your food knowledge is not what keeps you stuck in this all or nothing relationship with food, when you either feel that you're eating well or you've given up or you've failed. It's about tuning in to your mind and body and understanding those reasons for eating. So we've talked about hunger, checking in whether you're physically hungry. And if you don't know, please don't stress about that either. That's not uncommon. And many ladies that I have worked with gentle coaching and direction, have been able to better interpret and listen to their own hunger and satiety cues. So if you want some guidance on that, please reach out to me. I've left my email link in this episode's notes. I also want to direct you to your Health Hub on the Eating For You website. There's lots of free resources there, plus there's paid resources and other ways to reach out and get that support. Now, I totally understand we're only a couple of weeks from Christmas. This may not be the time to start thinking about your health goals for next year, but please, if you do want some support, just reach out to me and we can sort something out for the new year. So 2026 can be a year where you don't have to stress about food at any time of the year, not just the festive season. If you're keen to dive in by yourself, then we do have some short courses. And the one that I would recommend for this time of the year is Know Your Festive Season Eating Triggers to avoid that unwanted weight gain. And that's actually a replay from one of my popular online webinars that I conducted a year or so ago, and that's available to purchase, and the link directly to that is with this episode's notes. But I just want to remind you that eating is complex, and that is why the Eating For You approach doesn't just look at the biology of food and nutrition. It looks at the psychology, the diet knowledge that influences us, that dieting software that runs in our brain, plus being comfortable in social situations, because all of those areas create a different type of drive to eat. And I see my role very much in helping you interpret those and listen to them so you can enjoy a positive and happy relationship with food. I'd love to hear from you. If you've had any social eating experiences that you would like to fine-tune, then please email me. But I'd also like to hear about your successes. So either leave a comment below or use that email contact link in this episode's notes. We're going to be taking a short break from the Eating For You podcast over the Christmas New Year period, and I'll be returning with a new episode on January 12th. And I'm going to be sharing with you some tips and tricks to actually set practical goals that you can achieve in 2026 for your eating and your health. So with that, I wish you a very happy Christmas and New Year, and look forward to hearing from you and sharing with you again in the new year. You have been listening to the Eating For You podcast with Sally Ann Pisk. If a long-term way of healthier eating is of interest to you, then make sure you subscribe to our podcast.